Greetings, the Amplifier 30 here, and welcome to part 5 on this 15W plus 15W stereo amplifier build. Today's little exercise, and I'm going to take you along for the journey, is I'm now going to start marking out on the inside of the bottom of the case here of where stuff needs to go. And like the transformer, the power supply module, the heat sinks, etc. And I'll take the bottom panel off, drill it, and finally mount it. So what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to put a bunch of masking tape on the inside here of roughly where components are going to go, so I've got something to mark onto. So I'll start where the transformer is going to go, which is up here somewhere. Masking tape's relatively cheap, so you know, I can use as much of it as I want. There we go there. I probably could have used a sheet of paper and just stuck that in there rather than going through nearly half the roll of this masking tape, but that's alright. As I say, masking tape is relatively cheap. So now what I want to do is when I grab my components, I'm going to take the output stage off of the heatsink, just so I can place everything in the bottom of the case. I use some blank PCBs for the power supply and the power amps, etc. And yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, that gives me some idea of where things are going to go. I need to leave enough clearance at the front here before the power amps for the preamp, obviously, so I've done that. Power switch is going to come in over this side, so where is the power switch? So this is the power switch I'm going to use, and I've already put the wires on it. So, oh yeah, even if the power supply was right here, these wires should clear it. Should. I can always move that up further if I want, which I might do. And yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going to go. And this piece of masking tape here on the heatsink is just to remind me what the orientation of the output stage was. The text goes this way from left to right, so otherwise I'll assemble it around the wrong way. Because remember, the board is not exactly central with the heatsink. So I need to leave enough room up here too for the input selector board, which I haven't got to yet. So I think roughly where the heatsink is now, I want to try and keep it as far away from the transformer as possible. There's going to be a fuse holder back here and a AC inlet there, so I reckon roughly where the transformer is sitting now will be perfect. So I'll just take a Sharpie and I will draw around the inside of the donut. So that gives us an idea of where that is. That's not really relevant right now. I might draw around the heatsink, and then that'll give me an idea of where the heatsink first one is, and then I'll take the bottom off and then mark everything out properly. Here we go. I'll move that to the side. Quite a fair bit of weight just in this panel alone. Alright, so now that gives me a rough idea of where things are going to go, and I can actually now measure properly so I get, you know, this roughly where it should be so it looks square. I can also go and do this, put the heatsink next to it again to give me an idea of where the second one's going to go. I've drawn around the edges of the power supply board. Again, I'm going to measure to make sure that it's sitting, you know, relatively square in the case. Then I'll start thumping out some holes and drilling them out. Penis, your mum. Now, I've got everything marked out. It's in rough measurements, so I've like gotten to the nearest 5 or 10, whatever, just so it doesn't look all crooked in the case. I did cop out and actually just draw around the holes of each item where the drill holes need to be. I measured this to be about there, which should, it won't be quite in central with the power supply, but it will clear it. It'll be more over here somewhere. But it doesn't have to be central with the power supply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a bit of wood that I can put under this, and I'm going to punch all the holes where they need to be drilled and drill them out. Let's get going. Oh, one thing I have forgot. I am going to need a ground point. So, like for the star earth and the earthing of the power lead, if I use an earth power lead. So I'm going to need a stud sticking up here somewhere, probably about there will be good enough, because that should clear my switchboard. Yeah, so I'll just mark out quickly where that stud's going to go, and then yeah, I'll go ahead and you know, punch the holes and then drill them. Look at my hands, bro. That texture is not so permanent. It's come off on my hands. I'll have to wash them. Right, just one more hole to go. And, well, I've got to resize this last one I'm drilling, which is the transformer, but there we go. This piece of wood that I'm drilling on, I actually found that at work. Someone threw it out, so I decided to grab it, because it's actually a good thing to drill on. It's only a crack cupboard door. So I need to figure out what the size of this thread is. It's more like 6. It's not 5.5, so I think I'll just go with 6 and see if it fits. Change the drill bit. I'm going to have to buy some new drill bits soon, because that 3mm is starting to get a bit blunt. That was a bit nasty, but okay. So let's see if the bolt fits through. Oh, barely. Okay, so make sure the hole's drilled properly. Yeah, it'll fit. Okay, now all I've got to do is pull the tape off and deburr the other side. I can use the 6mm bit for that. Make sure that these don't have burrs on it either. So just like opening a Christmas present, we can pull the tape off to reveal our holes. If I was to do this again, I'd probably do what I was going to do when what I suggested I should have done, which is like stick just paper to it. But then the paper can rip easily as you're drilling, so you end up losing what you've marked out. So I thought masking tape was a better choice. It's not too bad on this side, burr wise. I did remember to drill the hole for the earth point. There we go, that looks sexy as it is. No tape required. Alright, let me clean up the rest of the panel and make sure it's deburred and stuff, and yeah, we'll start putting it back together. Just like modern day television, here's one I prepared earlier. No, I've deburred it, and for that larger hole I just used the Christmas tree bit to, you know, the star bit to deburr it, because the 6.5 was just a little bit too small to deburr the edge. But that fits nicely, so all I have to do now is put this back on the bottom of the case and then start mounting some stuff, like all my screws for the studs. I have actually checked this, and my holes line up pretty much perfectly. Not too worried about the heatsink, I can always fiddle with that. But yeah, all the modules, holes line up relatively good, so there should be no issue with screwing stuff together. Penis! Right, the panel is back on, and of course I tried to put it on upside down. In other words, I tried to put it up here. That was not going to work. I couldn't get the holes to line up for some strange reason, but anyway, it's sorted now. I've got the edge ones cranked down tight as tight as it can get without stripping it, because the sides won't have to come back off again. I've got 1 in the front panel and 3 in the back. So anyway, I can start now by putting in the studs, I suppose, which is going to be quite a fair few of them. And this is what I meant about the heatsink. There's some washers on top of here, and I had to drill the holes out in the heatsink to 4 in order to get it to fit in there properly. And then you bolt the output stage on top. From the top, I might have to change these 2 outer studs to 20mm long screws because the 15s are too short. So I'll just change them out and then continue mounting the rest of the studs that I need, etc., and come back. Well, I'm kind of screwed at the moment, no pun intended. I've run out of nuts. I can't even put 2 nuts on top of each other because I don't have enough. What a pain in my ass. I can't believe it's spent the last hour and 15 minutes screwing around trying to get these studs to line up with the holes in the board properly. I ended up drilling all these holes out to 3.5 just to make it, fit. This one went alright. That one took me the longest. This one's proving challenging, but I'm getting there. But I've run out of nuts. So, oh well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that now, except go and get some more. So I'll have to put this part of the assembly on hold, because I need, well, a nut for here, a nut for here, and of course 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 nuts there for the rest of the studs. Okay, well that's annoying. So even though I haven't done the connector on the transformer yet, I will do the transformer now, because, well, that's about all I can do. So I'll just grab the bolt for that, wherever that's soldered off to. Yeah, now I've lost that. Brilliant. Found the washers and nuts, but I have not found where I put the bolt. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Little rubber washer. Right, that should hold the bolt in there now. Long enough for me to do that. Grab the donut. Now the AC is over here, that needs to connect to that point there. So, yeah, I can always turn it around. For now I'll just mount it like this here. I forgot the washer on the other bloody side. Yeah, righto. Helps to do, the washer. I don't know if anyone can tell, but I'm starting to get really pissed off right about now. Things are just not working out the way I wanted them to, and it's frustrating, to say the least. Alright. Sticky tape. Alright, so I'll mount the transformer like that. Grab the lock washer and the nut. Oh, that fits just perfectly. There's not too much thread sticking through at all. Come on, start, will you? Well, it started anyway, so yeah. Not going to tighten it all the way down, I might have to take it back out, but at least the transformer's in there, because I do want to test that and make sure that it's not shorted or anything stupid like that, even though it's brand new. I've got to get another connector for this end anyway, so to plug into there. So that's something I'll have to work on. Now I just want to see, after all this effort, whether this output stage is going to fit. Take the washers off because I don't need them right now. Or I should say the transistors are going to fit on the studs properly. Yep, they will. that. Oh, now I've got it stuck. Hang on, I'm going to have to do this off camera. Okay, I got it to fit now. I had to massage the holes in the case a bit and massage that VBE multiplier transistor. Now it sits in there, but I don't have any nuts to put on it. But I should be able to get a nut in there, and that's more central with the hole in the board now, so I should be able to actually get a little socket on there to do it up. So yeah, I'll have to go get some more nuts. The seal washers are already on there, sitting there, so ready to tighten the screws up. So I'm going to leave that alone now because I need to start getting ready for work because it's getting late. So I won't even get to any wiring today. But I'll leave this sitting here on the desk as it is, so it doesn't move, because the seal washers are now in a nice position. So I'll get the nuts that I need, put them on, do them up, and then that heatsink is in permanently. There are 3 washers underneath on top of the screws. These don't need to be super tight, because what I did was I used the circuit board itself and adjusted the bolt around in the hole and then did the nut up. So it actually makes this come on and off a lot easier than it was before. When I drill the second heatsink, I'll make sure I drill it right, so that with 4mm holes still, but so at least these are all in the center. And then these studs will be used to solder the transistors into the correct positions with. I shouldn't have to enlarge these 3 holes. I'm going to leave them alone. So anyway, I'll get ready for work and I'll get back to this a little later. If we look at where the power supply is, I mean, these will have to be adjusted, but my board is really close to that transformer. Like, I mean super close. Like, if I grab the actual PCB that's going in there, if I can get it in there. Jeez, is there something with the tolerance of the holes in these things? There we go. I've got all of about 1mm of clearance between the capacitor and the transformer. Although that's probably not its final resting place. It's more likely its final resting place. It's still pretty close to the transformer, but yeah, what can you do? So anyway, I need to get more nuts, so I'll do that, and then I can finish putting the boards in, because I can't really do anything out without them, because I need to, as I say, step these screws up so they're a little bit further away from the case. And then I'll deal with this transformer, tighten it. I mean, well, I could have shifted it back a bit, I suppose, but yeah, I could have brought the power supply forward a little bit. In retrospect, I would have done this a little bit differently, but we always say that when we do projects like this. Anyway, I'm just waffling at this point, so I'm going to go get ready for work and come back to this later. There, I can just get in there. Well, it doesn't have to be overly tight. I mean, these two are cranked down tight, so the heatsink's not moving. So that's pretty rigid, actually. Well, all I've got to do is like wire up the external wiring from this module to the power supply. And I can't do that yet. I haven't got the nuts on there, which I'll do tomorrow, because it's the end of the day. I want to do something else, so I'll come back to this tomorrow. Alright, that main task is done though. I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, it's the next day. As you can see, things are mounted now. Power amp is mounted. I've got this just sitting in there. Power supply is mounted, just clears the capacitor from the lid. I ended up drilling out these holes in the PCB to 3.5 just to make it easier to fit in there. Yes, it's a cop out, but yeah. The only issue I do have is this PCB doesn't fit on the outer studs properly. They're a little too far apart, so I'm going to have to drill out these two holes at least. I'm going to leave that one alone to 3.5. So that's what I'm going to do now. Much better. Well, it's not going to go down that far, it's a little bit tight at the other end, but yeah, that's perfect. I'm going to leave it at that. Nice. I ended up getting 100 of these nuts, so these nuts. Right, the next thing to do would be to test that that transformer actually works and it's not shorted or something stupid like that, otherwise this project is over. So this is how the transformer is to be wired. Got the brown wire with a thermal fuse, it's active, blue is neutral, and the two secondary windings goes red, black for one, white and orange for the other. And these dots just denote where the winding starts. So in my case, in the connector, when I come to connect it up, when it's connected to this AC connector here, it would be orange, white, black, red, in that order. First, however, I'm going to set up dim bulb and some way of getting the power into it, and just check what voltages we got on the secondary. It should be two 12-volt windings. Alright, got everything set up, a cord, the dim bulb, and I've got a multimeter off to the right here measuring the AC across one of the windings. The windings are sitting in this jig so that they're not shorting on things. Plug it into the dim bulb. I'll turn it on. Nice. On the orange and white wires we've got 13.5 volts, a little bit higher than I was expecting. Let's change to the other winding. 13.5. It's barely humming away there. Alright. Alright, so next would be to wire this 4-way connector in the correct order across these wires and then hook it to the power supply and test that out. Right, got the connectors done, and it took me half an hour to do 3 because, well, these crimps are time consuming and fiddly without the right crimp tool. Anyhow, I've got the output lead for the VCC just sitting in this tool thing to keep it from shorting on things, and measuring across the output, see if this works. Indeed. And there goes the relay. 35.59 volts. Thereabouts. I love doing electronic projects so much I do them twice. Two of the wires, the orange and the white, came back out of the crimp when I was tidying up the wires with cable ties, and this positive lead was coming out of the crimp. I ended up having to do that one again, managed to save the crimps on this, and I've now soldered the wire to the actual lug, so it should not come back out again. Right, I got the wiring here tidied up with cable ties, it's all connected, and I'm ready to now test the power amplifier to see if it still works, but I've got to make up another one of these bloody connectors to give me the output and the ground. For now, that's all I'm going to do. Actually, before I do that, I might just check my halfway voltage point now that it's a different transformer. So it was 35 volts, so that should be, well, it's climbing. Yeah, about 17.5 volts roughly. That's pretty close. I might just up that a little. Alright, 17.5 roughly. I should recheck the bias too. Okay, got a 100 ohm resistor just dangling down there across the fuse holder with the fuse removed. So we need to see about 3.5 volts there for 35 mA, 3 to 3.5. Yep, that's a little bit low. So I'm going to up that to 3.5, thereabouts. And I'm going to leave that sit and settle and check it again in a few minutes. Alright, it's been powered on for 5 minutes and it seems to be happy around 35 mA. So nothing really is getting hot, apart from that resistor, which is quite hot. It should still be in the safety margin of the wattage of the resistor, but yeah, I probably really should address that. Now, I was going to make up another one of these connectors and I found this one sitting in the bottom of the drawer with a red wire hanging out of it, and I, for the life of me, can't remember what it's for. I think it might have been for the bass buddy project, to go from the relay to the speaker. I can't remember. And this green one was sitting around in that Electro India 3-way connector for the DC, so I just borrowed the lead. I've got it hooked up to the speaker on the floor across the room. Absolutely no noise. There is a slight little bit of hum there, tiny buzz. Well, not buzz, normal amplifier static. So we know it's working. I was going to hook it up to a scope to verify, but yeah, well, apparently it's working and no noise. I've gone ahead off of camera and I've wired the output socket to the relay and then back out again. I've got it hooked up across the oscillator through a pot at the input. So you plug it in, turn it on. Okay. Let's try that again. There's a slight pop there. That's only because the capacitor is dumping its charge into the load. I mean, that oscillator sounds nasty. Okay. Cool, that's working great. Got an issue with this connector that the red wire is starting to come out the crimp, so that's something else I've got to fix. I really should tighten that transformer down now. Alright, let me see if I can fix this crimp without buggering it up. That's going to be awfully awkward considering where it is now. Okay, I've gone ahead and done the primary wiring to the socket. I had to solder those wires to the crimp because it won't crimp, it's too thick. But it's at least a nice solid connection. The insulation's actually crimped to it, so it shouldn't come out. So now I'm just going to do up the transformer. Make sure it goes straight. Probably about as tight as I want to get it. Beauty. Alright, so I've borrowed the power cable off of my bench adjustable power supply because it's already got the necessary crimps on it. This is only temporary. And I want to run it off its own power switch. So turn the dim bulb on. And now this has got AC running through it, so yeah, if you're doing something at home similar, you're doing so at your own risk. Lights up. Beauty, runs off its own power switch. Now, let's see if I can address that pop. I'm going to temporarily install a 2K2 half watt resistor across this output socket, just so the capacitor's got somewhere to discharge to when it's not connected to a load. Got to find one first. Alright, I got it cobbled in there. It's not going to present that much of a load to the amplifier. In fact, it's going to see it as a pretty high impedance, so it shouldn't burn that resistor up. We'll soon find out. So I'll turn it back on. Made absolutely no difference. Okay, right, it might have to be a lower value resistance. If anyone out there knows if there is a resistor that won't harm the circuit, like it won't burn up, to put across this output, what value to use to limit that pop down, let me know in the comments. Anyway, this should be safe to plug into a normal power board now. But I'm going to leave this video here because it's going on way too long. We've achieved, well, I've achieved everything I need to. The next part of this will be the preamp, so look out for that video. I did check that connector, it is actually soldered, so it's just not in the crimp properly. But it still serves a purpose. Anyway, I'm the Astro 30. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to rate, comment and subscribe below. And you can always follow me on Facebook and become a Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. Links are in the description, guys, as usual. Anyway, this is the Astro 30 saying, see ya, have a great day.